Okay, so now we have all of our angles filled in both green and in blue writing, and we have those filled in just degrees. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at, okay, how can we take those angles that are in degrees and write them in radians? So remember, radians, you saw in a previous video, an activity, radians are just simply another way of measuring angles. Now, radians are used more commonly in the mathematical world. So in that video that you watched about radians, it showed you how to convert from degrees to radians, and I'm going to just give you another refresher on that. So if we remind ourselves that this unit circle is just that Math 3 Ferris wheel, remember we get on the ride at this location here. So that is at 0 degrees, which is also just 0 radians. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at this angle right here, which remember we said that that was 30 degrees. So to take the 30 degrees, we'll take it down here, and to then convert those degrees into radians, what you're going to do is you take the degree and you're going to multiply it by the fraction of pi over 180. Now this fraction right here, pi over 180, is actually equivalent to just 1 because pi radians is just 180 degrees. They are both halfway around the circle. So if you rotated pi radians, you would land, oops, let's put that away, you would land halfway around the circle, just like if you rotated 180 degrees, it would land halfway around the circle. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and multiply these together. So when you multiply those together, the degrees cancel themselves out, and then you're left with radians. So you're essentially left with 30 pi over 180. Now, this part of the fraction, which I'll highlight in pink, that part right there, you can actually simplify that down. So 30 over 180, that simplifies down to just simply 1 over 6. So it's 1 pi over 6, which we don't even really need to have that 1 on top. We can just simply write pi over 6. So that means this angle right here is 30 degrees, which so that's as degrees, which as radians, that is equivalent to pi over 6 radians. So on a completed unit circle, you will see those angles in degrees, and you will also see them in radians, so pi over 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pick another random angle that's in degrees, and I'm just going to show you again how to convert that into radians. So let me zoom out to give myself a little bit of space. So let's pick a random angle. Let's take, let's do 300. So I'm going to take this angle of 300 degrees. We know it's 300 degrees. And again, to go from degrees into radians, I'm going to multiply by my pi over 180 degrees. When I do that, and when I do my canceling, we are going to see, so again, those degrees cancel out. So we're going to see that we have 300 pi over 180. And once again, that 300 over 180, that simplifies down. Zoom out a little bit here. So that simplifies down to 5 over 3, and I still have my pi symbol there. So that means that that angle of 300, I'll zoom back into my unit circle, that angle of 300 is 300 degrees, which then is also, as we said, 5 pi over 3 radians. Okay, so I'm not going to go through every single one of our angles here and convert every single degree into radians, But I wanted to just show you, pick, you know, two random angles, the 30 degrees, the 300 degrees, and just remind you how to convert those into radians. So when you see a complete unit circle and you see all of the angles in degrees and in radians, I want you to hopefully now have a better idea of where those measurements come from. Okay, so that is